Hey guys, Shock back here again with another video. This time around a bit of a different one. It's actually one of my other passions aside from min-maxing PvE is actually solo farming dungeons and solo farming for gold, for boosting, and just sort of optimizing solo farms in general. So I'm bringing you today, guys, a Shadow Fan Keep solo farm shaman guide that I've actually seen from a rather new YouTuber on the internet. So this is not actually my idea or my creation. So I'll link his YouTube in the comments below or in the description. I'm sorry. And yeah, all credits go to him for some of the I guess tips and sort of ways he's done this farm, and I'm just here to reiterate on his idea and sort of try to optimize it further. So without further ado, we'll go into the run, we'll do the tips and tricks, the how to, the where to, the why to, and then do talents and gear in the end. So here, starting off with the first pool we have in the dungeon, it's actually the easiest one, just basically going in and grabbing all the dogs and wolves up to the first boss, alongside the first boss himself of course, and then opening the little door here on the right. While doing this very funny and easy sort of pool, quick TLDR, basically how are we doing this whole shaman farm? Mainly due to the Fire Nova totem alongside, well, actually mainly because of all of our runes, but specifically the Fire Nova totem, the Earth Shield, as well as the Molten Blast. Earth Shield being your recovery sustainability, which is just really good when getting hit by a lot of low level mobs. Molten Blast just also doing good amount of damage, splashing to all targets, and then obviously Fire Nova Totem Rune, which essentially makes it so your Fire Nova explodes from your existing Fire Totem rather than being a totem itself, right? So basically the way to do it is put Magma Totem all the time, even while running, obviously on the different Q spots, and then using Fire Nova on cooldown to explode from your existing Magma Totem for crazy amounts of damage. Obviously there's a couple of other runes, we'll get to those in the end, but first you've seen the first pool, it was pretty standard. Basically you gather the mobs, you put Magma Totem, you put in an Earthbind if you're about to kite them or run around. You can do a healing totem as well, mana is never an issue because of our shield rune, and then spamming Molten Blast and Fire Nova totems itself to sort of wrap up the whole pool. Now, one quick TLDR on the second pool. Now, a lot of people and a lot of guys I've seen, or rather the one guy I've seen and a lot of people I've spoken with, are actually doing this entire room alongside with the next pool. However, time is not an issue, damage is not an issue, so what I like to do actually is clear the courtyard on its own, so I don't run into problems such as Moonwalkers having anti-magic shield, chasing me, and then clapping me onto the next Q spot where I pull like 60 mobs or something alongside with two bosses. So you don't want to necessarily risk the next pull. So that's why what I do is just grab the entire courtyard, put me totems down here on the stairs, and then obviously just kill the mobs. If things get dicey here, you can just jump down, or rather run up and then jump down, get yourself a quick heal, and move on. What you also can do is not kill the mobs here, leave them at very low HP, and then just start running on to the next pool. Or if again you're geared or you have enough time, you're not chasing a clock or anything such as that, you can very simply just clean them completely here, or kill them, sorry, completely here, and then move on to the next pack. And I believe that's exactly what I'm going to be doing now. As you can see here, obviously the Moonwalkers have the anti-magic shield, which is a bit annoying. So that's what I mean. I wouldn't want to have like 6 of those on my back while I'm doing the next admittedly harder pool. But obviously now, for example, and what I'm doing now with a couple of mobs left is exactly what you can potentially do. Skill all those mobs alongside the next pool and be fine with it, or maybe you'd want to do as me and be on the safe side. But yeah, aside from that, obviously don't do that, don't fall into this gap. Clear the courtyard and then move on to the next pack. Using Earthbind quite often to either pull mobs or slow mobs, so that's fine. We'll go over now here, get the get the middle guy. I didn't have mana for a shock, I believe, here. And now we are close to the next pool. Now, something I've done in this dungeon a lot, and I like to do a lot when I'm doing this farm, is actually don't run to the Q spot right away, but rather like sort of lower the HP of mobs as you go, so you don't get like super overwhelmed with the amount of creatures attacking you at any given time. Obviously here I'm getting a bit low on HP, so I'm actually gonna have to just go now, pull the boss, go in the middle of the tables, pull all the mobs in the middle as well, and now get to our cheesy Q spot. Basically this ledge here, what you want to do is put your totems on the corner, start obviously making sure our shield is up, start dealing damage to them, and then as soon as you get low on HP you just jump at the back and then back up. Now another tip here, guys, is make sure when you're jumping up to always hug the right wall so mobs don't attack you from the left side, right? So you want to make them run around, especially if you're low on HP and you have to heal yourself. So you don't want to, once jumping up, to get instantly clapped by a lot of mobs. And now, as the pack is quite low on HP, I'm actually just going to proceed here and grab the last set of mobs in this room alongside the Razor Claw boss, and just get back to the Q spot. This should be pretty clean. And as you can see, guys, that's what I mean. Like, for example, right now I'm fighting with a couple of full HP mobs and a new boss, whereas the rest of the creatures are now dying. What you could have done is pull the entire courtyard, the whole run, the whole place up to here, and then just fought them here from full HP, which you can do. That just means you need to heal yourself more. You need to do the whole jump up, jump down a bit more. And then obviously make sure when you're doing the jump, 1, you have Magma and Earthbind, and then 2, you're obviously not jumping on the left hand side. Currently we are at 70 mobs for about 6 minutes, so that's pretty good. And now we are going to move on to the next pool. I'll call this pool 3. Let's just make sure like we separate the pools, or rather pool 4, I guess, if you consider the first room as well. But yeah, basically from now on you're actually not caring about killing mobs because we are going to the reset spot. So basically up until now we do the pool, we kill the mobs. Now we run to sort of the end of the dungeon, the sort of working room, and we are going to be resetting the mobs there, and then we're going to be running back. Couple of things to note here for the trash along the way. The guards here can silence you, they can hamstring you, and they also do different curses. These are both the tormented officers on this bridge, as well as the previous one, which we passed by a couple minutes ago, but you'll see in a second in the video. I get hamstrung and cursed like crazy, so you basically need a sort of a way to deal with this, which surprise, or rather secret, is the PvP trinket, which you can use to drop hamstring. The Ghost Paladin boss as well has a chance to do a judgment, or sorry, not judgment, but Hammer of Justice, which if it doesn't resist can stun you for a while, so that's not great. So just make sure you try to get your PvP trinket before attempting this. However, again, not the biggest issue. I feel like quite often you can manage. If you don't get stunned on 20% HP, you can survive a stun. Hamstring is not as bad. Obviously you slow the mobs as they're slowing you with Earthbind, so I feel like, again, it shouldn't be an issue, but PvP trinket is nice. Now we've reset all the mobs. What I'm gonna do is just run to the left side because there's 2 extra wargames here that I want to pull, so I've just pulled those 2. And now I jump here on the left ledge, trying to flame shock the guy from downstairs so he can run up. We can damage them a bit, and then we can jump down, save some time, get an opportunity to heal ourselves. Unfortunately, I'm not able to shock him this time around. I'm not sure why. Well, he's not in good position, or I'm not standing in the right place. Usually I do that, but it's, as you see, it's a no problem kind of situation. So yeah, basically, best case you've pulled like the entire room chasing you up. Worst case, you do what I do right now. Obviously, again, put your totems here, do some damage. Ideally, you don't want to kill any mobs here because there's a chance that the boosters don't get the XP. So yeah, just lower them on HP and then move on. This is obviously, again, if you didn't pull the extra mob with Flame Shock, what you can do as well here is just get on the stairs here and then just again do some damage to these mobs as well. if you manage to pull them, obviously you wouldn't need to do that, but I like to basically do that here, get on the stairs, do a magma, do a fire nova, and now we move on. We get over to the bridge side now, the first bridge. Obviously, again, those are the mobs that do a hamstring and then curses as well. So you wanna be careful with those. Again, what I like to do is pretty clear now. I like to basically kill mobs as we go, or just lower them anyway. You're fine to kill mobs here. You can actually do this as a separate pool, like you can just clean the mobs here, finish it off. The booster should get their XP because they're under you, exactly. But now we'll just move forward, pull the boss here, throw a quick heal, and then move over to this side of the bridge. Walking guardsmen, those can hamstring you, and I think they do all the curses as well rather than the previous ones. But in all cases, I like to lower those a bit as well. I want to make sure I'm not getting chain stunned or chain silenced. And here is where I get both hamstring and a silence. I actually use my trinket rather late. Decoy totem as well, if you can preemptively pop that, it will make you immune to hamstring, so that's not bad. Pull the boss here. This is obviously the paladin that can stun you. And then going forwards, it's the last set of trash before we get to our Q spot. Jump down, throw yourself a quick heal if you need to, and then obviously I'll pull a totem with a Nova behind for some damage, and now get to the cheese spot. Is what we like to call this. Pretty much the same thing as before. This time around, a whole lot of mobs, but because a lot of them are low HP, they'll start dying any second now, which will greatly reduce the chance of you dying. But as you can see here, they're dealing quite a lot of damage just because they're a lot. So let's make sure we jump down, get ourselves a couple heals, and then jump back up. Obviously, guys, again, I mentioned it second time, when you're jumping up, make sure you jump right on the right hand side, hug the wall. So as you jump, I think I'll do it now again. So I'll get myself to full, I'll go up, and now see, if you're not hugging left, they can actually hit you from the left hand side. If you're low on HP, this is important. If you manage to heal yourself to full, obviously it doesn't matter. So yeah, let's just wrap up this by killing the last set of bosses I believe are left. Now Commander is dying as well, and we are at 110 mobs for less than 12 minutes. Basically, where you want to be with mobs per dungeon is at about 110 to 120, 125. It all depends based on a couple of things. So first of all, there's a couple of patrols in this room here, which is actually, you want to pay attention to them, or you pull them maybe when you do the razor claw on the previous pull, because if you pull a lot of mobs and you are dependent on healing yourself here and you jump down, the path actually patrols where you jump down to heal yourself. So there's some chance that if you didn't pull it on the previous pull, or you got unlucky with this patrol here that my totem put, once you jump down, there's a chance that he interrupts you, or like obviously you're not able to get a heal off and die. So that's not ideal. However, since I have 3 minutes left on the timer, I'm actually just going to kill the two patrols that I've pulled, as well as the horses. The horses you can do on the courtyard pool, or you can skip them completely. They're not too bad. The only thing is that they have a chance to stun you. So obviously you don't want to do the entire courtyard, the horses, and then move on to the next boss. Do like a mega massive pull, because again, there's no need to. You're under the lockout timer. They have a chance to stun you while you're running, while you're getting in position. So you don't want to risk that. Again, I do the horses if I'm fast on time, and if not, I'll just cut it out here, and then see, that's 13 minutes for, I think it was 115 mobs. Did it show the add-on 120? It's basically anything between 110 and 120 mobs, if you do everything as I've done and do not miss any patrols. So that should be your full SFK run, guys. Now in terms of gear, I have my gear here. there's nothing required. Basically, I have a mix of my elemental and enhancement gear, but I also do this farm on my second shaman, which is pure elemental, which means that there's no strength gear or extra stamina gear I have really. What you can do as well is just get yourself of the stamina and of the eagle gear, prioritize stamina, prioritize some extra intellect so you have a good mana pool. Although the chest shield, the shield mastery rune on chest regenerates your mana quite fast, so you don't necessarily need like super much intellect or a lot of intellect really. But yeah, of the stamina of the eagle gear is good enough. Everything else is just basically the best items you can put. I really did prioritize, I think, stamina for this sort of gear set, so that's that. Spell power dagger I use. Spell power in general is good. It obviously scales with your totems and fire novels, but the coefficiency rate is not that high, so you don't really need spell power. Again, if you do have some items with spell power, feel free to use them. Obviously, I've crafted the epic engineering shield. Now, this is personal choice. I just like the item. I love reflect items. I have put a mithril shield spike on it. However, the actual shield doesn't reflect a whole lot of damage, and then the mithril shield spike is also not that important really. Like, none of the farm here requires you to reflect damage to mobs. The totem does all its job. I just love reflect items, what can I say? So yeah, you can put stamina enchant on the shield instead of the spike, and you can use any shield as well. One thing that it's kind of nice is for the chest. I've done the Gnome Regan enchant, a Retrocutioner, which essentially just returns 9 damage to the attacker every time they hit you. This is better than both the Mithril Shield Spike and the actual shield in terms of reflect damage. And I feel like it's better than having 2 stats on the chest, so feel free to get Retrocutioner. It's pretty cool enchant, and it does I'd say a significant amount of damage, considering that it doesn't require you to block. So basically, every time somebody smacks you, you deal damage back to them. And then finally, the other, like, sort of, I almost say important or required enchant is the minor speed enchant on boots. You obviously want to grab yourself that because it increases your movement speed, makes it so much easier to, like, sort of do the pulls, get in position, just overall speeds your run. So yeah, that's about it. Everything else in terms of gear is basically what you can get yourself on, what you can get your hands on. PvP trinket is a nice addition. It is not required, but it can save you sometimes. And then yeah, the rest is just some stamina, spell power gear, any good mix of stamina, intellect, spell power gear you can get your hands on, right? Trinket wise, you can use the PvP STV trinket, which does some AoE, which is nice. You can use Rune of Perfection, which is some extra stamina. Or you can use, I have equipped the tanking trinket from Gnome Regan, which is essentially the exact same 7 stamina plus a on-use effect that just increases your armor and decreases your movement speed. The use effect is not great, you don't need it, it's just better than Rune of Perfection because it has an actual on-use effect, right? So that's pretty much in terms of gear. Again, you should be fine with almost any form of gear. I'm doing this on my elemental with cloth spell power gear and a couple of stamina pieces, so nothing too special. In terms of talents, pretty much there's a couple of things you can sort of mix and choose. On the first row you'll get the mana reduce, then you get yourself the fire totem damage and the damage reduce. Clear casting is good, reduces obviously whenever it procs the mana of your flame shocks, I think as well totems. Shock cooldown talent is good. Fire Nova delay totem talent is good. Eye of the Storm has a chance that after you get critical hit, you don't receive pushback when casting spells. Now, I don't think this ever procs when fighting level 25 mobs. However, as I move on to trying to farm other dungeons like Scarlet Monastery, maybe that comes in handy. So this is a flex spot. And then obviously the final talent, the reason why you're into Elemental is the Elemental Fury talent, which just greatly increases the damage of your fire totems. So this is the sort of required talent. Everything up to here is more of a choice, and as you can see here, most of those talents don't really do all that much for farming, so feel free to copy this build or feel free to move a couple of points from Eye of the Storm maybe into Elemental Devastation, which is just a minor melee damage increase. Here, getting critical strike when critting with spells. That's probably the option compared to Eye of the Storm, but yeah, I was just testing Eye of the Storm really if it ever procs. And then the final 10 points, I have 5 in mana and 5 in shield spec. Shield spec is good, it's nice, and then the mana, it's also nice, very far away from required. Again, you do get yourself mana very fast when getting attacked by a lot of mobs because of your shield rune. So potentially those 5 mana points here or intellect points you can put somewhere else. And then a noteworthy mention is the improved healing wave. So maybe you move 5 points from the intellect to this, making your healing wave cast 0.5 seconds faster, which basically means that sometimes you're able to put in a healing wave instead of a laser healing wave if you need, and you have a bit extra time, whether that's on the jump where you do the whole cheese, or maybe while still running, you know, pull an Earthbind, get a couple of yards distance, and then you can throw yourself a heal if you need to. So that's basically in terms of the talents, in terms of the gear. The run, guys, as you saw, under 15 minutes. This farm should yield you about 100 gold from just boosting. So if you get 4 people to pay you 4 or 5 gold each, do 5 runs an hour. This is essentially 100 gold. Obviously, if you do it for 14 minutes, 15 minutes, then you do only 4 runs. If you do it for 12 minutes, you do 5 runs. But yeah, again, it's about 100 to about 80 to 100 gold from boosties, and then you can get all the loot, the shared gold. If you do a free for all, you can just loot yourself everything. Obviously there's a couple of blues that actually drop here, which I managed to get while running this for about an hour. So that was another, I think, 10 gold. I sold 2 blues for 5 gold each, plus obviously all the vendor stuff, which are about 2 gold per run. So I think, yeah, you should be good for 800 gold per hour. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much, and do let me know if you want to see any more farm videos or dungeon farms anytime soon. Thank you.